Welcome back to Let's Play Gran 5, Part 3. And in today's episode, we're going to be completing the IC license. And before we get started, I'm just going to go in and show you guys what we did last episode, which was we got the A license complete. We got most of them gold, not all of them. We got actually well over half of them. And spoiler alert, we're going to be getting a lot less gold this episode because the IC license is pretty difficult. So, we're going to begin with IC1, which is very similar to B1 and A1, except it's 1,000 meters, which makes it 2.5 times longer than A1 and 5 times longer than B1. And I think all the assists are locked off for this one except for ABS, but I'm going to leave ABS on because I don't hate myself enough to turn it off, especially on these kinds of tests. And I'm just going to go and get out of the way. I did not get this test gold. I got pretty close, but I did not get it. It's really hard to get the brake at the right spot because you have so much more power than the other cars. This car is also rear-wheel drive, so it's a little bit more difficult to get stopped. So we're just gonna, you basically just floor it. I think the spot I really tried was the second X up here. Yeah, hit the brake spot there. I could probably have pulled the e-brake looking back at it, but this has already been recorded, so we're just not gonna bother doing that. So, unfortunately, no gold to rest on that test. So now we're gonna move on to IC2, which is hard braking and exiting corner after a downhill straight. And this is at Trial Mountain. You can probably guess what section this is at. You answered the back straight and then that corner immediately after. You're correct. This test didn't give me too much trouble. It was kind of a pain. Most of these tests were a pain, but this one wasn't horrible. There is kind of like an A4 and A5. You can kind of fudge around with it by like going really, really sharp inside. I also have a couple takes of this where I was drifting, and I'm probably going to put those at the end of this video. So, well, I was kind of even drifting a little bit there, and that probably helped me carry enough speed into that corner. So, yeah. So I did get gold on that one. I was actually kind of surprised I didn't get it. Or I was kind of surprised that I got it as quick as I did. So now we're going to be moving on to IC3, which is taking tight double hairpins. This is at the Indianapolis road course, and I believe the section where this test is based does not exist in real life anymore. Oh man, this test was... I didn't even try getting gold on this test because getting silver on alone was already ridiculously difficult. Like, I think once I just did this test, I took my silver and went. I didn't even bother. Yeah, so you have to... The margin of error for this test is basically non-existent. And that's going to be another theme in another upcoming test. It basically, what I think I started doing was just driving really slow and then just slowly chipping off time as I went until I eventually just got down to the silver. And honestly, I probably could have even gotten a better time there, considering that I was all over the place. But I didn't even think about it. I just took the silver and I just left. Yeah, so that test was a pain. Luckily, though, we're going to be following that test up with IC4, which was probably the easiest test, not just in this license, but probably one of the easiest tests in the entire game. I'm not even kidding. I did this. I said in the last episode that there had been easy tests that I had done before that I was just having trouble with now. This was not one of those tests. I was always pretty good at this test, and I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I still am pretty good at this test. This test is extremely lenient, if I'm being honest. It's kind of like A7. It's on Eiger, but you're on a different. It's a different layout, and instead of going uphill, you're going downhill. And honestly, getting gold on this test is absolutely no problem at all. In fact, honestly, I definitely should have failed where I bumped into that yellow barrier there, but I didn't. Not really sure why, but honestly, I'm not going to complain. Yeah, I even slowed down too much there. Like, even with this atrocious driving that I'm doing, I still managed to get gold first try. This really is super easy. So now that we've gotten our super easy tests out of the way, we're now going to be moving on to 3 back-to-back tests that are basically hell on earth, if I'm being totally honest. These IC5, IC6, and IC7 are... they're something. I'll just say that. They were probably some of the most difficult tests I had to do recording so far. They all took me several tries, and one of them I did. 2 of them I got gold on, but one of them I literally could not. We're going to start with IC5 here, which is at Rome Circuit, and I believe this is at the back straight, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, though, but I'm not entirely sure. And this test, I actually love this recording that I did here, and you'll see why here in a second. So you see my best lap up there is at 18.560. I slam on the brakes there, throw it into that corner. What do I end up with? 18.499. Exactly 1/1000th, I believe, off of the required time. Yeah, I was pretty impressed with that, needless to say. Now we're going to be moving on to IC6, and this... you thought the margin of error for IC3 was bad. The margin of error for IC6 does not exist. Margin of error, don't know her. This test is brutal, and it's short, so you think, oh, it's not gonna be that bad. No, it's bad. It's pretty bad. You see that gold time there's an 11.2, silver's 11.5. You have a 0.3 second difference between gold and silver, and that 0.3 seconds, any minor error, you're basically just not gonna get them. I spent probably at least a good 10 minutes on this test trying to get the best time I did, and the best time I did was barely an improvement over my original best time, as you can see there. So now we're going to be moving on to the least torturous of the trifecta of previous tests. IC7, which is at Toscana, which is a new dirt track. This test was better than the previous 2 tests, but it was an experience. It took me about 10 minutes to get this time that I got. You'll see here, you see my best lap up there was a 20.023. And by the time I saw that, I was originally just not going to do that, but when I got that, I was basically like, oh, well, I guess I have to get the gold now. Although I didn't do that on previous. Whatever, that's not important. Point is, I was like, oh yeah, I got to get the gold here. So that was actually, the previous lap was actually, or my previous run was actually what I got that lap on, or that time on. And you know, for some reason I was really feeling myself after I got that. I felt really proud of myself after getting the gold on that test. Not entirely sure why, but I was really feeling myself. So now we're going to be moving on to IC8, which is Monza's Lesmo corner, which is the set of double right-handers at Monza, which is after the second chicane. And you know, I actually don't have too much trouble with this corner in some games, but for some reason this corner in this test was just giving me trouble. I also forgot to adjust my settings before I did this run, but I did go back later. I think immediately after I finished this run, I went in and I turned traction control off. I just had forgotten to do it this time. So this test was really more annoying than it was hard. I just kept getting annoyed by accidentally overshooting and going into this gravel or those silver walls. I kept bumping into those. Like, honestly, I just barely missed with that one there. So I just got really annoyed with this test, and eventually I just took the time I got here and just decided I was done. So it's kind of an anticlimactic finish to the timed tests in the IC license in this Let's Play. Not gonna lie. So now we get to move on to the much easier part of these tests, which is the overtake test. And we're going back to Fuji once again, except we're not going to be doing the front straight this time. It's the, I believe it's the newest section of Fuji, which is that, you'll see it. I don't really know how to describe it. Yeah, it's that, like, it's the end of that long sweeper, and then we're going into that the new chicane. Well, I guess it's not really new, it was just new when this game came out, I think. Anyways, this test wasn't too bad. It did take me, this one took me the most tries. Well, never mind, A3, or A9 took me, 3 tries as well, technically, because I got 2 disqualified. I got silver on my first run here. Then actually no, I think I disqualified first. Then I got silver. And then I got this run, which was my gold run. And one of these runs, I was sliding, and I put that at the end of the video, so you guys would be able to see, because I figured I'd do like a little compilation of all the drifts, because there was a lot of rear-wheel drive cars, and I did do a lot of drifting in this segment. So this one was pretty easy, honestly. The Viper, it seemed like the Viper just let me past. Don't really know why I did that. You figured he'd put up a fight, but I guess driver of that Viper wasn't really up to it that day. So now we're going to be moving on to IC10, which is very similar to B10 and A10 in the sense that you're doing a race again, but rather than doing just one lap, it's going to be 2 laps, and we're going to be doing it at the Rome City course. And we're going to be doing it in this Ferrari 512BB. And this one I did adjust the traction control on. I did not turn it off because I figured turning traction control off on this kind of car would be a terrible decision. I literally would not have been able to control it. Honestly, I wasn't even really able to control it with the little bit of traction control I did leave on. So this test, I remember when I was younger, this test gave me so much trouble. I literally could not finish this test for the life of me. It's, now that I'm older, it's a lot easier because, you know, I have more experience with this game and whatever. I didn't get gold on this run, unfortunately. The first 2 cars are both very fast, and you basically have to dedicate an entire lap to getting past them. But honestly, passing these first several cars, getting silver in this test is extremely easy. You just kind of, it's only 12 cars this time. It's not a 16-car race, so there's less cars. But like I said, those first 2 cars are much faster, so you kind of have to dedicate an entire lap to passing them. I was not able to catch up to them, unfortunately, so I did have to just take the silver. Which, I mean, was not optimal, but it did get me where I wanted. I just am trying to get silver on everything at least. Preferably gold, but if I can't do that, then it's fine, I guess. Anyways, we're already almost up to 3rd, so we're up to 3rd now. And those lead 2 cars, which are both Countachs, I believe, are both pretty fast. Not sure why exactly they're so much faster, because there's 2 more Countachs that you guys definitely would have seen earlier, because I think one of the Countachs is right in front of you. But I don't know. Yeah, see, I'm slipping around there. This is a mid-engine rear-wheel drive car, and I'm driving it with no traction control, which is definitely I'm driving it with minimal traction control, which is a decision. Don't be dumb like me. Make sure you use traction. Make sure you use a little bit more traction control when you're driving cars like this. I have to say, I am kind of a fan of the Rome circuit, the PS3 games. Then again, I haven't played the Rome circuit that was in the older games, so I'm not familiar with that circuit. It's the only really oldest GT game I played the original, and then the next GT game I played after that was GT5 Prologue. So yeah, if you guys are watching this and you think GT4 is worth it, let me know, and I'll hunt down a PS2 or figure out how to emulate it. Really, I'm not sure what else to say, honestly, because I think this is probably the longest. No, there's a later one. There's IA10 is a pretty long test as well. Because that one, it's 2 laps of the full Grand Valley circuit, and Grand Valley is significantly longer than the Rome circuit and Deep Forest Raceway, which, spoiler alert, is what IB10 is. So you do. Yeah, there we go, slipping this thing. Especially those 2 corners there, those last 2 corners. Especially that penultimate corner. I was always just sliding around it. I did do this. This was my first attempt. I didn't do a second attempt of this or any other attempts. So I just got the silver, but I mean, silver's alright. Not the worst thing in the world. So that is going to finish up the IC license. And there's a little bit of a predicament. So, we're at level 8 now, which is pretty good, considering the fact that all we've done is a license test. But to move on to the IB license, you have to be level 9. And I could go back and gold level license test, but that's only going to get us so far, because I've seen videos. I'll shut up
international C license tests. Now enter the appropriate races and raise your driving level. Next up, the International B license tests. Are you up for the challenge?
Yes, I'll be up to the challenge in a little bit. Anyway, even if I got gold on all the tests, even if I did get gold on all the tests, I would still not be able to do the IA license. I've seen videos. I think you only get up to like level 11 when you get all gold on the tests. So we are going to do things a little bit out of order. I'm going to be doing the Sunday Cup in the next segment. But for now, we're going to open up our prize cars. And there's our trophy for getting the IC license. So, for completing the IC license, we get, drumroll please, we get this Acura DNX concept from 2002. I believe this was also sold, well, this wasn't sold, this was also made as a Honda version. And then for our second prize card for getting all silver, we get the, I believe this is the ASL Garaya from 2002. And this nice blue color. That blue color is actually kind of nice. The one I have on my main profile is black. In fact, I think most of the... This is totally unrelated. I think the license tests I have on my main profile, I have way less golds than I do on this profile. So maybe I need to lock in and go get some more golds on my main profile. Anyways, here's our Acura DNX. Something I didn't realize about this car recently is, until relatively recently, is that it's a 4-door car. I always thought it was a 2-door car. I think the back of it looks nice. And then here's our Autobox or ASL Garaya. This car's honestly a lot smaller than I always think it is. Anyways, that's going to wrap up this episode of Gran Turismo 5. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next part. Bye!